I take your point on all that, but with great respect, does your party have respect for the voters?
Time has finally come. Stephen Guilbeault is having to answer for what's happened in Jasper and him knowing about the pine beetle situation and not acting on it. Welcome back to Moose on the Loose. My name's David, and today's top stories, we've got that one with Stephen Guilbeault. We've got an update here with CTV and the employees who dealt with they changed Poilievre's words, what happened there. We've got an update also with Garnet Genuis, who's the one who said those comments about Trudeau and that whole thing blowing up, as well as some other stuff. Vassy, Kapelos, digging into Mark Holland. So let's jump into this. So first up, we've got from CTV. This is what they released. A lot of people are saying that they fired 2 people. That's not necessarily true here, but their statement from CTV says, a report on Sunday CTV national news broadcast did not meet our expected and required high editorial standards. We sincerely and unreservedly apologize for the manner this report went to air, blah, blah, blah. The main thing to note here is at the end, it said the investigation found 2 members of CTV news team are responsible for altering a video clip, manipulating it for a particular story. Their actions violate our editorial standard and are unacceptable. Those individuals are no longer members of the CTV news team. That doesn't mean they couldn't have moved over to some other Bell company or some other division or team within CTV. So they didn't necessarily get fired. Maybe they did. So who knows? But this is kind of a weak response. What likely happened here is they tossed a couple editors under the bus, but really it was someone up high who made that decision, because no editor is going to just go and do that for no reason. Next up, we got this clip here. This is a real beauty. We've got conservative Blaine Calkins just absolutely demolishes Stephen Guilbeault on the Jasper fire situation. Guilbeault was warned about this. I put in a clip a few videos ago. Back in 2017, the conservatives back then warned the liberals about the pine beetle infestation around Jasper. They did nothing about it. When Guilbeault was brought in as the environment minister, he was warned about this. He did nothing about it. There's email receipts.
If you had those conversations, did you direct your staff at Parks Canada to accelerate their fire preparedness for Jasper? Yes or no?
Vous savez, je sais pas comment vous envisagez le travail de...
I don't know how you imagine a minister's job works, and I don't know if you'll understand my answer, but it is not the minister's job to micromanage 4,000 Parks Canada employees and tell them how to do their jobs. I'm not a forest fire expert.
It comes from the top, Minister. The tone comes from the top.
Hey, please.
He sure does pretend he's a forest fire expert.
The tone comes from the top, Minister. I know very well how it works, Minister, because while you were planning your next escapade to jump off of the CN Tower,
Point of order, Mr. Chair.
on the Premier's house, I
Point
was
of order,
actually
Mr. Chair.
in Jasper.
I'm stopping the time.
I was there on the ground.
Point of order, Mr. Chair.
I'm stopping the time.
He's an absolute savage.
This is going south.
Point of order, Mr. Chair.
Yes, Mr. Vancouver.
Wow.
Minister, that Parks Canada has changed or significantly changed its fire preparedness policy in any way, shape, or form with the matter of prescribed burns in order for fire prevention. When I was a warden in Jasper, and that's what I did in the 90s when I worked for Alberta Parks and National Parks Canada, I could see what was happening with the parks policy. I could see the removal of the roads for fire suppression, and the policy has shifted, and it hasn't changed one bit. The pine beetle comes along, it changes the entire landscape. You have the ability, Minister, to change the policy, set the direction, and set the tone. You had the Excelsior fire in 2015. Residents were worried. They came together. Experts from BC came. All the work that was done in collaboration with the government of Alberta. Everybody said they weren't ready. The fire chief in Jasper National Park was asking for more trailers for sprinklers. They were asking to update the water systems. They were asking the residents, 200 of them came to a town hall in the fire hall, asking to remove that deadfall. You claim that you've spent millions and millions of dollars and you've only removed a couple of hectares of this stuff. This is dead standing pine. It's the driest, most easily burnable, hot burning wood that there is. And you've done nothing. There is nothing here. But I do have this. I have from Jonah Mitchell a response to Melanie Kwong at Parks Canada that says, at what point do we make the organizational decision to cancel planned prescribed burns in Western Canada as more and more media articles raise public concern, public and political perception may become more important than actual prescription windows? This is what your organization is doing, and you're not giving them the direction, and that lies with you, Minister. You're responsible for that. When are you going to take responsibility for the $1 billion of damage that happened in Jasper? Everybody knew this was coming. Everybody knew it, and you were told. And yet here we are, $1 billion worth of assets burned down. And our beautiful Jasper National Park, where I used to work,
why don't we give
is laying in ruins. Why don't we give
the minister a chance to provide some answers?
Wow.
Il y a beaucoup de choses qui ont changé depuis.
One, lots has changed since you worked at Parks Canada. You spoke about the 1980s. A great
90s.
deal was done since the 80s. You spoke about a sprinkler system, and my colleague spoke about the investments that led to this system. You spoke about wood that needed to be removed. We carried out the removal through both prescribed burns and manual removal. I am the first to recognize that we need to do more to protect ourselves against climate change. Unlike the Conservatives, who bury their heads in the ground and say that climate change doesn't exist and has no impact in Canada.
They used to allow roads to go into Jasper. You have these cut fire breaks. They're all like kind of logging roads, but without the logging because it's in a national park. And then they basically took that away, so they couldn't access this deep stuff. They couldn't easily get back there with, kind of 4x4 vehicles. And so it just makes it impossible to fight the fires if you can't even drive back to those areas where fires start. You're basically limited to helicopter only. That's what he was bringing up there. And Guilbeault doesn't, his response is weak. He said, oh yeah, we got rid of some trees. Like, he knew about it and he did nothing. And then he just blames climate change like an absolute pathetic little man. Taking a look at the comments here, the amount of visible contempt Guilbeault is showing here almost surpasses the contempt Freeland showed in her committee session, Re-Emergencies Act. It doesn't really matter if they are part of the 11. Their contempt is apparent from their answers. Liberals were too busy stuffing taxpayer cash into their friends' and families' pockets to bother actually protecting communities. The Green Slush Fund, yeah. Insurer have estimated the cost to rebuild Jasper at least $880 million. It's terrible. He thinks he forgot the translators, or even better, a lot of people who understand French. One a-hole to move the answer to French, and I'm bilingual. It is a bit of a dick move. Guilbeault speaks perfect English. It's not like he's kind of struggling. Like some of them, like Melanie Joly, she struggles to kind of speak in English, but he's not one of them. He can speak fine. A lot of people, don't like that he's responding in a different language. So basically Guilbeault blames it all on climate change. They did what they could. But climate change, utter incompetence, and pure cult-like stupidity. Next up, we got a clip here with Vassy, Kapelos, and Mark Holland. And we're skipping most of it because he just keeps babbling, the same old stuff. But then he starts to really go off his rocker here and just, he just starts spitting out just nonsense and attacking the Conservatives.
You take a look at the way that we try to find solutions. You take the way that we try to find common ground and work with other parties that are different than us. They don't do that, with all due respect. The way they talk, the way they attack, the way that the kind of nonsense they're yelling on the other side, the kind of frat culture over there, they're not, who are they trying to work with? We're legitimately trying to work with parties that have different ideas with it. That's hard work. Working with the NDP, I disagree with them on so much. It's hard work to find common ground. The Bloc, I've got massive differences with the Bloc. I mean, huge differences, but trying to find common ground because people elected them and I'm trying to respect them. I don't see that same respect from the Conservatives. I don't see respect for democracy. I don't see respect for other parties.
Does your
I don't
party
see
have
respect for democracy? You're quite literally, Justin Trudeau's the one who locked down bank accounts and brought out the horses.
Respect for other opinions.
And I take your point on all that, but with great respect, does your party have respect for the voters? You've spent a long time here telling us how Canada is great and good, and there are ills in the rest of the world that all
Vassy with the line of the century. Does your party have respect for the voters?
Governments are facing this. I've heard this consistently from yourself, from other ministers, from the Prime Minister on Stephen Colbert, who said, yeah, Canadians are frustrated and they're taking it out on me. Why is there no line of culpability whatsoever? You promised in your portfolio specifically in 2019, not you, but your predecessor, that every Canadian, the Liberals would fulfill a promise where every Canadian gets a family doctor. And instead, there were 14% of Canadians who didn't have one in that year, and there are more than 20% now that do. It's not always everybody else's fault. I take your points on the criticism
I've
of
never said that.
but that's what you and your colleagues are inferring.
In fairness, no, that's not true. That's just factually not true. And I'll tell you exactly why it's not
bad
true.
Everywhere else.
No, what I've said is that it's bad everywhere else, and we're working hard to find solutions. If you are going to tell me that I'm not somebody focused on solutions, name the area of healthcare. I can tell you the very specific and direct things that we're doing to make it better.
Are they working? Do people feel they're working?
Absolutely, they are. Coming out of COVID, there isn't a health system in the world that wasn't straining under the weight of COVID. There isn't a health system in the world that didn't have huge backlogs and challenges. And we absolutely have made massive progress. The bilateral agreements that we've signed with every province, every territory, the $200 billion that we're putting forward with common indicators.
Fault, but people in provinces don't feel like things are better than they were a year ago.
You want positive proof points? people getting care. You want positive proof points? Agreements being signed with common indicators so the provinces can be held to account for that progress. Now, we're not going to get there overnight. You can't snap your fingers, and you should be afraid of anybody who says you're going to. It requires slow, methodical, inch-by-inch work to make progress happen, and that's what we're doing. And I understand. It's never fast enough. I've
been here for 9 years with
yeah, but absolutely. And look at how much progress has been made. Childcare.
Progress is in bringing in the capital gains tax and kicking out, basically forcing out all the doctors out of Canada. Everything they do just hurts this country.
$10 a day childcare everywhere in the country. The fact that we've got the ability now to be able to be addressing climate change in a real way, seeing for the first time emissions coming down
by 1%.
When the economy is not coming down. We're on track to meet our targets. This stuff is huge. This is stuff that didn't happen before.
Say that.
But I would say to you that look.
Wow, let's just talk about climate change here real quick. So I went over to ChatGPT today and I was like, let's just do some math on this. So what I asked ChatGPT here in two different tabs. The first one you see here, it says if Canada emits 671 million tons of CO2, which is what it told me, that's why I got off of Google, then what percent of China's coal usage would Canada have to replace with liquefied natural gas for Canada to become carbon neutral? Because then we would just be carbon neutral. We don't need a carbon tax. If they wanted to do this whole climate thing, this is really the route they would want to take. And it goes through, it gives all the numbers, it does all the math here. As you can see, percentage 11.2%. So if we replaced 11.2% of China's coal usage with liquefied natural gas, Canada would be carbon neutral. Why aren't they focusing on that? And sure, you could overplant trees or areas that there's no trees. Like, that's a way to help that number. But really, the liquefied natural gas is the way to go. Get all this dirty coal out of the system. And so I asked it again, the same thing, but with India, and it gave me the results here, 53.5%. If we were to replace half of India's usage of coal, we would be double carbon negative. We could then sell those carbon credits on the world stage. I mean, why aren't they doing that? They don't actually care about climate change. They want to take our money and do other things with it. I should note here too, ChatGPT is not always accurate, but you get the point, whether it's actually 53 or if it's 40 or 60 or 90 or whatever.
Holding me to the standard of the world that I'm not doing it good enough, I agree with you. And I'm going to wake up every morning, I'm going to try to do better. But I'm going to say to you that at the same time, if you're going to judge me against perfection, then hold the others to the same standard and ask them exactly and specifically how they'll make those things better. Let's talk about the toxic drug supply and the absolute lies they tell and the damage of those lies and how they misrepresent that situation.
When they agree to come back on this network, I will, and I have.
And let me tell you,
my job is to ask
let me tell you, the existential threat to our health system is Pierre Poilievre, what he would do to our healthcare system, not just to cut dental care, not just to cut pharmacare, but the devastating cuts he's going to have to make across the board to do even a part of the things that he says.
Those are more lies. Existential threat to healthcare. Poilievre said he's already given examples of how he wants to help fund it more. The Mark Holland, once again, lying. He gets his lying tips from Trudeau.
He's going to do.
To be fair, he says he won't cut healthcare. And I take your point. I've asked him a million times. But
what's the plan? He says on the one hand, look, I'm going to say I'm going to give everybody everything they want. Don't worry, every problem is going to be fixed. You got a problem, here's a slogan. You got a problem, here's a slogan. It's all going to be fixed. What's the path? What's the work? And guess what? It's not there. It's a bunch of smoke. It's a bunch of mirrors, and behind it is vacuous nonsense. And I'm saying that what we're offering is
20 points ahead of you and have them for 8 months.
Of course, because they're doing a very good job of amplifying people's fears. You know, what they do is they pour poison and vitriol into the system and could try to convince everybody that everything's terrible instead of looking people in the eye and be straight about what's hard and what's difficult and what has to be done to make it better.
Isn't that an easy scapegoat for your party? Maybe people really feel that way.
Vassy, I don't know if you encounter this in your
Wow, this guy's unbelievable. These liberals lie to us daily, and he has the gall to say that.
life. I encounter it all the time. There are people who complain and say things are broken, and there are people who try to actually make the world better and do things. And
which one are you, Mark Holland? You seem to be complaining a whole lot because you guys are back 20 points in the polls.
I would say to you that if they want to prove that they're the second group of people, and by the way, that's what an election is about, because it's very easy to complain, very easy to say what's broken. But if you want to get the opportunity to go and make change and do something different, you have to show how you're going to fight for every inch of progress, what you're going to do every morning, what kind of character you have to do it. That's a question that I welcome. But I welcome it at a time when we have a normal election. In my opinion, having an election because the Conservatives want an election isn't a good reason for one. We have a democracy. We have 4-year terms. during that period of time, it's essential we use that time to get things done.
I do want to ask.
Get things done like the MAID program and keep pushing as many people over to that as possible. This guy's a disgrace. We're going to take a look at the comments on this one. Election now, please, with 58 thumbs up. You guys already destroyed it. No one takes Mark Holland seriously. It's honestly embarrassing watching him think he's making any impact at all. What does this guy expect? More and more Canadians can barely pay their bills. He and his party are so out of touch. That's that comment right there. They've been doing this for a while. You know, every one of these ministers that comes on here, they keep saying like, oh no, Canadians don't want an election. You know, Champagne was, I think, the last one to say it, or Duclos. They all say it. They're just a bunch of liars. Speaking of liar, we've got Karina Gould here. This guy here, Doug, posted this. It says, what is this? Liberal cabinet minister Karina Gould cannot afford a $10 a day childcare fee? Instead of bringing her kid to work, she should have brought her fellow MPs to work. It's probably because she can't get a spot. There's none available. Oh, God. I mean, yeah, why does she bring her kid in? We also got this one here where Jagmeet, you're not going to believe that. I'm just going to play it.
I can just hold her like this, Dory.
This is amazing, the multitasking. Yeah. This is impressive.
It'll be good.
It'll put you at a disadvantage though when in this as I question you, or maybe you'll be
people will be more like sympathetic to me.
Yeah, exactly. I'll have to have them.
It's like almost like she's like a beautiful political prop almost.
Yeah.
Oh. What a terrible thing to say.
But there's pressure. She's got to hush up now, or else we'll think maybe you're not helping the situation. Okay.
Maybe because the waiting list is 2 to 4 years long. We got an update here regarding the whole homophobic comments, Garnet Genuous, the whole bathtub Tom Clark situation in the House of Commons. So first off, we got Justin Trudeau here being full poopy pants about it.
I'm always going to stand up to bullies. When anyone makes a homophobic comment, I will respond, and that's something I need to do.
What if taking 2 tries to withdraw?
Yeah, okay. So Trudeau thinks he's standing up to bullies, but Trudeau is the bully. Now we've got the NDP asked about it, who are also having a fit.
Yesterday.
But do you think the image that apparently is being ascribed to a Conservative MP, the idea that Tom Clark was in the bathtub with somebody else, maybe world leaders, maybe with the Prime Minister, is that inherently homophobic, or is that kind of like sounds kind of like an editorial cartoon?
Well, if that's what you heard, of course,
well,
maybe.
That's what I heard on the tape, yeah.
Yeah, that's what you heard, of course. But I want to have a clear transcript from the Speaker, whose job it is to ensure decorum, and I'd be happy to take questions after we have a verifiable account of what took place. I just want to be serious about this issue and take a concerned issue because I want the Speaker to make a ruling about it.
Is there any indication he won't?
He did say yesterday that he's going to take that under advisement and he may return to the House. And so I'm encouraging
Oh my God, you guys are just so useless. Just move on. How about fix some actual problems in this country, like people sleeping in tents? You got it right here. Did you engage each other in the bathtub? That's not homophobic. It's a question. You can take it as however you want to take it. The Liberals are just a bunch of losers. As this guy says here, that doesn't qualify as a homophobic slur, signed a gay man. So this NDP buffoon goes on here. This is funny.
What do you think Canadians are thinking when they tune in to watch their elected representatives and they're making jokes about bathtubs and the Prime Minister's talking about defecating? I mean, does this like not seem juvenile at a certain point and turn people off from politics in general, whether or not the comment was or may not have been homophobic?
I really appreciate that question. It's something I have to deal with deeply often, is this question as to whether or not we have the right place to debate the right issues with the right level of respect. And I'd say right now it's a really difficult position for parliamentarians because we're not even dealing with the same facts. We need to be role models for Canadians. We have a lot of people counting on us.
You guys are not role models. You're all a bunch of losers. All you NDP losers, all you Liberal losers, all the Bloc losers and the Green losers. There's a bunch of people who don't serve Canadians. The Conservatives are the only ones actually trying to help us. So what really happened here, we got a clip of Garnet Genuous. It's very clear what happened, and he explained it in the House of Commons today.
Hansard notes, does he engage with them in the bathtub? The point of that comment is to illustrate that, of course, meetings don't take place in a bathtub. A luxurious bathtub has nothing to do with meetings. The Prime Minister's answer had nothing to do with the questions, but it had nothing to do with sex. I wasn't thinking about sex at all.
Yeah, so the point being there is Tom Clark doesn't need a $5,000 bronze tub to have these meetings with people in New York. That's what he was pointing out. But Trudeau would like to twist the words and make it homophobic because there's people across the country are making homophobic comments about the guy. That's what's really, he's already bothered by it. He's going through divorce. He's overly handsy with Macron. I mean, he just met with Macron and they put their arms around each other. I mean, the guy brings it on himself. Moving on here, we got Karina Gould, who says tabling another non-confidence vote immediately after losing the first one is lame. The main thing to note about this clip is Pierre Poilievre put in forward a non-confidence vote. They already struck it down, and then the next day he was given the opportunity to put in another one. He's given 5 opportunities before Christmas, I think, or before the end of the year, and they gave him another one right away, so he did it again. And now they're complaining that he took it.
On these demands. So do you feel like you need to start making a bit more progress there if you want to stop there being more of these confidence motions and to be able to hold on until fall of 2025?
Well, look, the only party that is putting forward these confidence motions are the Conservatives because they are playing games, and I find it actually quite kind of lame that, just moments after they have lost that motion in the House of Commons, they're putting forward another one. I think what we're seeing today is that, this House does not have confidence in the leader of the Conservative Party.
That's hilarious. This whole vote is because Justin Trudeau's a schmuck and they're trying to get rid of him. For Canadians sleeping in tents. I wonder if she finds that lame.
Canada. And that is something that, what we hear from the opposition parties is just how bad he would be for Canada. So we'll take it day by day, but, I'm going to continue to work with the other parties and work.
Oh, she's such a snake. This is funny here. I believe this is Gould's riding. Burlington. Yeah, that is Karina Gould's riding. Conservative safe. She's losing her seat after, once the next election comes. She's done. We've got another comment here showing, Conservatives, they know the Conservatives are going to win. They're just holding on to their high paychecks. That's all that's going on. All these Liberals just want to keep making those big dollars. I did the math on it in the previous video. Trudeau's getting $1,117 a day with his big $400,000 paycheck. And all the other ones, they're probably, $300,000? Either way, they're making tons of money daily. They just want to hold on to that. Next up, we got this here. It says, my daughter is 17 years old. She's a straight A student. She volunteers and umpires for softball. She plays softball at the highest level and has won Canadian national championships twice. In grade 11, was accepted to UBC on an athletic scholarship. She has applied for minimum wage jobs for months and cannot even get an interview. Canada is broken. This is it here. They brought in way too many people. 1 million here, 1 million there every single year. And now there's no jobs for Canadian kids. It's ruining Canadians' lives. It's starting off young Canadians without the ability to actually have a fighting chance. And that's what we got here in this graph. I mean, look at this. Non-permanent resident at percentage of total Canadian population. Trudeau gets in here, right here, 2015, and it goes right to the moon. I mean, it's almost like they intentionally have tried to destroy our country and the lives of Canadians. Hard to compete with a foreign student or TFW willing to pay 5 figures and ignore minimum wage laws. They are being exploited. Youth unemployment is close to 20%. Our government hates young Canadians. That is true. Jumping over to my group, let's see what memes we've got today. 97% of scientists agree with whoever is funding them. The other 3% are banned from social media. I don't know if this is true or not, but it sounds about right. NDP MP complains that Trudeau fails to deliver one day after voting to keep them in power. This is Gord Johns. This is my MP. This guy's a loser. He needs to be voted out. I sure hope he gets voted out. I don't care what you want. I have my own plans for Canada's future, and it doesn't include Canadians. Yeah, no kidding. Experts warn Hurricane and Hurricane Alley during hurricane season. Clear sign of climate change. Some of you may perish, but that is a sacrifice I'm willing to make. That's basically all the people of Jasper. Foreign aid, let's see who this really is. Money laundering. This one works a little too well. We're getting the tub memes here. We've got Tom Clark. We've also got Macron. I don't need you anymore. I am woke now. Well, finally, I was waiting for Guilbeault to get roasted, and it's happened. He's put on the block there, and he knows. You could just see it all over the guy's face. He just looks so guilty. He switches the language to French. The guy's a coward and a loser. And you have an entire town that burned down, and on top of it, now he's using that stat of the insured damages as a thing about climate change. Oh, we need to push the carbon tax. The climate change. Jasper burned down. It's disgraceful. The man is at fault. He had a part in that, and he didn't do his job, and now people don't have homes. How many more Canadian lives will be ruined because of these Liberal ministers?